So today we're going to start with dividing decimals. And just as a reminder, we've already learned about dividing fractions and then multiplying decimals. So just a quick reminder that if we're going to divide fractions such as 3/10 divided by 1/4, I'm going to do keep, change, flip. So that I would keep the first fraction the same, so that would be 3/10. I'd change the operation to the opposite, which would be multiplication, and that allows me to flip the second fraction. I never want to change the first fraction because that changes the entire problem. So 3 times 4 is 12, 10 times 1 is 10, and then since I have an improper fraction, to simplify it, I can divide it into a mixed number. So this would be 1 and 2/10. And then I need to simplify the fraction into simplest form. I can divide both of them by 2. So that would be 1 and 1/5, because 2 divided by 2 is 1, 10 divided by 2 is 5. Okay. Remember, if this was a mixed number or this was a mixed number, I would need to change those into improper fractions first. I have also already multiplied decimals. For example, if I was going to multiply 3/10 times 6/10, I can do something like that. Remember, in multiplication and division, I do not have to line up the decimal points. So if I had 3 2/10 times 6 instead of 6/10, I could do that. So 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18, plus 1 is 19. And then I'm in the next digit is the 0. So I know everything multiplied by this one is going to be 0, so I really don't have to multiply anything there. And then I count my decimal places in. There's 1 there and 1 there. So I know 1 plus 1 is 2. So on my answer, I'm going to go 2 decimal places in. So my answer should be 1 and 92/100ths. On your calculator, you can check, is 3 and 2/10 this times 6/10 the same as 1 and 92/100ths. Okay, because I solved this, I should also know the answer to this one. I should know that the digits should be 1, 9, 2, and then I should only go in 1 decimal point instead of the 2, because this would be the same as 6, and I just don't have the extra decimal point there. So if you did 3 and 2/10 on your calculator times 6, it should equal 19 and 2/10. So now we're going to move on to actually dividing decimals. Okay, very similar. We're going to use place value to help us on this. So you can think of ratios or equivalent fractions to help you. So if I had 72/100ths divided by 3/100ths, I could write that, remember, as 72/100ths. I could write it as a fraction divided by 3/100ths. That's the same. So then I could do keep, change, flip. Or I could write it as 72/100ths divided by 3/100ths. All of these mean the same thing. So I'm going to show you, I know you guys can all solve that. Okay, you would just keep this the same, multiply it times 100/3. So I'm going to show you how you can do these two. Okay. So if I'd had 72/100ths times 3/100ths, you could do this on your calculator, obviously, but we're going to figure out how I can do this actually by hand. Okay, so really the first thing you have to do is to get rid of the decimal points. What you do to one number, you have to do to the other. So if I'm going to multiply this number times 100, I have to multiply this number times 100. On this, it actually works out easily and well because both of my decimals have 100ths placed in them. So if I multiply 72/100ths times 100, I get 72. If I multiply 3/100ths times 100, I get 3. So now if I look at my new problem. I have 72 divided by 3. That goes back to when you first learned about division in 3rd grade, 4th grade. You should know how to do 72 divided by 3. I can rewrite that as 72 divided by 3 like this. And I can go 3 goes into 7 2 times. That's 6 or 60, whichever way you like to do it. And that would be 1. I can either bring down the 2 or say 72 minus 60 is 12. 3 goes into 12 4 times. 4 times 3 is 12, and that makes 72 divided by 3 equal 24. Again, you could check it on your calculator. If I had it like this first, I really just do the same thing. The goal is to get the decimal point out of your divisor. It doesn't matter if it's in the dividend or not. So I have to multiply by 100 because I have to get the decimal point out of the divisor, which means I need to multiply this by 100. So I end up with 72 divided by 3. Or 3 times what equals 72. And again, the answer would be 24 because it's the same process. If you need to rewrite it so you can get the zeros out of there for your own brain, that's fine. Okay, we're going to try another problem where they don't have the same number of decimal points. So let's do 6 75/100 divided by 3/10. So again, I could rewrite this as 6 75/100 divided by 3/10. Or I could rewrite it as a fraction of 6 75/100 divided by 3/10. You could solve it with fractions. Okay, remember here I said that the goal is to just get the decimal point out of the divisor. So really here I only need to multiply it by 10, which means I only need to move the decimal point to there to actually solve this problem. Okay, so I would rewrite this as 67 5/10. So then I'd move a decimal point right above it for my answer, divided by 3. If it bothers you that there's a decimal point, of course you can do it more, and you do have 675 divided by 30. Here, the same thing. I multiply by 10, multiply by 10. You'd have 67 5/10 divided by 3. So 3 goes into 6 2 times. 3 goes into 7 2 times. 3 goes into 15 5 times. So it's important to line up your division problem so you make sure the decimal point gets in the right spot. And then this is where you can check, is 22.5 times 3 equal to 67.5. You can also check it on your calculator. Once you do, you can circle your answer. So that is how you divide a decimal by another decimal or a number by a decimal.